On June 26, 2020, Karen Garner, a 73-year-old woman suffering from dementia and sensory aphasia, was stopped by Walmart employees after she left the store without paying for items worth approximately $14. Video footage captured Miss Garner walking out of the store with the items in her hands, and she was soon brought back inside by the employees. Subsequently, Miss Garner attempted to pay for the items, but Walmart employees refused her service and asked her to leave immediately. Compliance with their request, Miss Garner left the store. However, one of the Walmart employees contacted the Loveland Police Department to report the alleged theft. A few minutes later, Officer Austin Hoop responded to the call and located Miss Garner as she was walking home after the incident. Officer Hoop parked his patrol car behind her and approached to stop her. Unfortunately, the situation escalated negatively. Officer Hoop failed to effectively communicate with Miss Garner, and he resorted to violently throwing her to the ground in an attempt to place her in handcuffs. This action was unjustified, as Miss Garner displayed no signs of being a threat to Officer Hoop and did not attempt to flee. Instead, she continued walking, which did not warrant such a forceful takedown. In fact, Officer Hoop's approach appeared misplaced from the beginning as he asked the visibly confused Miss Garner an unnecessary question. Do you need to be arrested right now?
Do you need to be arrested right now? No. Okay. Let's stop.
After successfully placing Miss Garner in handcuffs, Officer Hoop proceeded to guide her back to the patrol car. Unfortunately, during this process, he continued to employ excessive force on her and attempted to insinuate that she had been engaged in a physical altercation with him.
Why are you fighting with me? And why are you trying to slip the cuffs off?
I'm going home.
The video from the officer's body camera proved to be beyond a reasonable doubt that Miss Garner and Officer Hoop never came close to a physical altercation. It's obvious that Officer Hoop didn't need to use so much force to keep a 73-year-old woman in custody. In addition, it's important to highlight that Officer Hoop apparently did not take into account the detainee's mental state, which is a significant issue. Officer Hoop obviously disregarded the legal requirement that police use their discretion to determine whether or not a suspect is mentally competent.
I'm going home. I'm going home.
Yeah, I know. I'm just trying to search her.
As if the force employed by one cop wasn't already severe, a second confrontation broke out as cop Daria Jalali arrived to aid Officer Hoop, resulting in Miss Garner being taken to the ground again. Both officers proceeded to secure Miss Garner inside the patrol car, despite her repeated statements that she was simply trying to go home. Officer Hoop responded to her pleas with a dismissive laugh, stating, "No, you're not," in a mocking manner.
You have to use that much aggression?
What are you doing? Get out of here. This is not your business.
Once again, Hoop's negligent demeanor became evident as he dealt with the situation. While Officer Hoop moved to the other side of the patrol car to secure Miss Garner, a Good Samaritan emerged from his vehicle and approached Officer Hoop, questioning the necessity of using aggression against an elderly woman.
What's your date of birth, Karen? What's your date of birth? Okay.
The young man had witnessed the entire incident unfold from a distance and decided to drive up to the scene. Officer Hoop, displaying further negligence, dismissed the young man's concerns, instructing him to leave as it was none of his business. Following a brief confrontation, Officer Hoop returned to assisting Officer Jolly in securing Miss Garner. Once they successfully placed Miss Garner inside the patrol car, Officer Hoop attempted to identify her by asking for her date of birth. However, he received no response, indicating Miss Garner was unable to provide the requested information. Given Miss Garner's disability, it is unsurprising that she would encounter difficulties understanding Officer Hoop's demands, let alone recalling her date of birth. Both officers appeared to overlook the possibility of Miss Garner having a disability, despite it becoming increasingly evident by that point. Shortly after, the officers engaged in a casual conversation, during which Officer Jalali expressed her concerns for Officer Hoop, stating that she would have arrived more quickly if he had mentioned a physical altercation.
200. Yeah, okay.
All right,
Hey.
let's get her down the station.
Okay, we don't need to wait for Capella.
No, we can see what it, I
Okay.
mean, we know what's it said.
She stole some stuff, and they caught her before she left and got it back, and then she ran out. So we have
And then
the...
you contacted her for that.
And then she resisted and
obstructed and
obstructed.
resisted, so
We're good either way.
we're good either way.
Cool.
She's going.
All right.
Let's get a blue path. If they decide not to prosecute, I don't care.
Cool. Okay, we'll head down there.
Officer Hoop responded to Officer Jalali's concerns by making remarks about Miss Garner, commenting that she was like 20 pounds, and implying that the situation would have been different if it had involved a larger individual. This statement indicates that Officer Hoop was well aware of Miss Garner's fragile state as an elderly woman, yet he still exhibited excessive aggression toward her. The situation becomes even more questionable when both officers display uncertainty about the potential charges against Miss Gardner. Officer Jalali appears to have no understanding of what Miss Gardner could have done wrong initially. Sergeant Phil Metzler, the fourth responding officer, informs Officer Hoop that Miss Garner would be charged with resisting arrest and obstruction, regardless of whether or not Walmart decided to press charges. Immediately following the incident, Officer Hoop, Officer Jalali, and Community Service Officer Tyler Blackett were captured by a police station surveillance camera, engaging in laughter and joking while watching the footage of the arrest from Officer Hoop's body camera. On May 19, 2021, the Colorado 8th Judicial District Critical Response Team completed an investigation into the incident, leading to the filing of criminal charges against Officer Hoop and Officer Jalali. Officer Hoop faced 3 charges, including assault. However, on March 2, 2022, Officer Hoop pleaded guilty to a single charge of second-degree assault, classified as a Class 4 felony. Consequently, he received a 5-year prison sentence. Meanwhile, Officer Jalali pleaded guilty to 1 count of failure to intervene in Larimer County District Court in June of the same year. As a result, she was sentenced to 45 days in jail and placed under 36 months of probation. However, despite the clarification provided by Mr. Hodges when he displayed his cane from his back pocket to Deputy Goad, she continued to pursue him. It became evident that Deputy Goad lacked probable cause to detain Mr. Hodges, as her suspicion of him carrying a firearm was disproven.
What's this in your back pocket? I saw you walking it.
For navigational aids. What's the problem? You a tyrant?
Yeah, I am actually. What's your name and date of birth?
I don't have to give that unless
Yes,
I'm
sir. I was investigating.
You have reasonable,
Do you want me to put you in
suspicion?
handcuffs right now? Yes, sir, I do.
What is your suspicion?
It looks like you're carrying a gun in your back pocket. I'm stopping to make sure you're carrying it properly. You don't
Have
have
you
to.
ensured that it's not a firearm?
No, you keep turning so I can't see it. You don't have to be a dick to me.
Well, you're being one to me.
No, sir, I'm
Have a
doing my
good day.
job.
Am I detained?
Yeah, you are.
Nevertheless, Deputy Goad proceeded to inform Mr. Hodges that he was being detained and demanded his identification, asking for his name and date of birth. Mr. Hodges questioned the necessity of providing his personal information, stating that he had not committed any crime. In response, he requested the presence of Deputy Goad's supervisor, who coincidentally arrived at that moment.
Sir, what you talking for?
For a walking stick.
And it could look like a weapon. She asked you to present it, okay? Now she's asking me for ID. Okay. I don't need the ID unless there's reasonable articulated suspicion that I have committed a crime, am committing a crime, or about to do a crime.
Sergeant Randy Harrison approached Mr. Hodges and promptly inquired about the reason for Deputy Goad's initial stop. Mr. Hodges explained the circumstances to Sergeant Harrison, who in turn demanded identification from Mr. Hodges as well.
You were armed, okay, and she's asking you for your ID. Well, now she has verified that I am not armed, okay? So there is no problem. You have your ID or not? I do have my ID, but you don't need it, okay? Okay?
Initially, Deputy Goad may have possessed a reasonable suspicion to stop Mr. Hodges if she genuinely believed that the item protruding from his back pocket was a firearm. However, once it became unequivocally evident that Mr. Hodges was not carrying any firearms, any further detainment would be considered unlawful. Despite this realization, Deputy Goad and her supervisor, Sergeant Harrison, collaborated to handcuff Mr. Hodges and conduct a search of his pockets. Mr. Hodges requested the names and badge numbers of both officers, but neither of them responded to his demand.
Wallet in. Where's your wallet at, sir? I don't have a wallet on me.
Okay, where's your ID?
Where's your ID at? Pocket. Which pocket? You are not allowed to search me.
It's in this pocket.
There you go.
Thank you.
It is important to note that throughout the ordeal, the officers did not show any concern regarding the cane that initiated the encounter. The cane remained in Mr. Hodges' back pocket during the entire confrontation, and neither of the two officers displayed any interest in it, even when Mr. Hodges pulled it out in front of them. This further emphasizes that the cane was never the underlying issue. The officers had other, seemingly trivial reasons to detain Mr. Hodges. After engaging in back-and-forth communication over the police radio, Deputy Goad approached Mr. Hodges once again, attempting to assert unnecessary authority and further escalate the situation. She questioned him, asking if it was challenging for him to comply.
Are you legally blind? Yes, I am. Okay. I had to walk up here in the dark for jury duty. which was cancer. But you're using your stick. You don't have to use your stick all the time, but not all the time.
Mr. Hodges was arrested and charged with resisting without violence, as indicated by jail records that show his booking at 8:25 a.m. that morning. He was released 26 hours later. 2 days following his release, Mr. Hodges submitted a records request for the body camera footage on November 7, 2022. The viral video that circulated clearly demonstrated that Mr. Hodges had not engaged in any actions warranting arrest. An arrest report authored by Deputy Goad, she stated that James had violated Florida Statute 843.02 by obstructing an ongoing investigation. According to her report, Mr. Hodges repeatedly refused to allow identification of the object in his pocket and declined to provide his ID. However, the body camera footage contradicted her account, showing that Mr. Hodges promptly and willingly presented the object from his pocket to both officers. Miss Odom's claims that Mr. Clark had assaulted her resulted in a bloody altercation turned out to be unfounded. When the officers arrived at the scene, there was no evidence of blood or visible injuries. Moreover, had the officers requested a background check on Miss Odom, they would have discovered her extensive history of encounters with the law. This included a 2016 conviction for fraud in the first degree, multiple felony charges of aggravated domestic assault, and even an attempted murder charge, which she apparently remained influenced by. The actions taken by Officers Hanning and Summers demonstrated a clear neglect of the usual protocols during the encounter.
I literally just saw banged on the door, or through the wall. Bam, 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 and I'm sleeping. Shut the f*** up!
They seemed to accept Miss Odom's account without questioning her, despite the evident fact that she was intoxicated and lacked clarity. After speaking with Miss Odom and Mr. Braden, the officers proceeded to approach Mr. Clark, who resided next door. Following a few knocks on Mr. Clark's door, he opened it while holding a collectible sawfish snout sword, which had been a gift from his late brother-in-law. Mr. Clark had retrieved the sword with the sole intention of self-defense, expecting a confrontation with Miss Odom rather than the arrival of police attempting to resolve the matter. Given the circumstances, Mr. Clark was entirely justified in opening the door with a weapon in hand, as the officers had not identified themselves as law enforcement, a requirement mandated by law prior to such encounters. Despite the situation de-escalating when Mr. Clark complied by placing the weapon on a shelf and facing the officers, Officer Hanning made an attempt to tackle him by kicking his leg and punching his head. It was apparent at this point that Mr. Clark did not pose a threat to the officers. Officer Hanning had sufficient time and opportunity to detain Mr. Clark after he had put away the sword. However, instead of doing so, Officer Hanning retreated and proceeded to draw his firearm. Mr. Clark, remaining motionless with his hands clearly visible, demonstrated that he held nothing that could potentially harm anyone.
What do you want? What the fuck?
It was at this moment that Officer Hanning, without providing any warning, aimed his taser at Mr. Clark's stomach and discharged it. It's important to note the conflicting demands issued by the two officers. Officer Hanning instructed Mr. Clark to walk into the hallway, while Officer Summers simultaneously told him to get on the ground. As Mr. Clark fell backward, his head made contact with a chair, rendering him unconscious. The situation worsened when both officers attempted to move Mr. Clark's body outside, resulting in his head striking the corner of a shelf, which caused a laceration on his head. Furthermore, Officer Hanning employed unnecessary force by placing his knee on Mr. Clark's neck while restraining him with handcuffs. Reports indicated that his knee restraint led to an injury to Mr. Clark's carotid artery, necessitating surgical intervention for treatment. It is notable that this particular knee restraint has been associated with several fatalities in the past. As Officer Summers attended to Mr. Clark in an attempt to revive him, Officer Hanning had a different agenda.
Get out here right now! Get out here!
Get on the ground!
No. They hit that wall so hard, I thought they were going to come through the wall.
He re-entered Mr. Clark's apartment and took hold of the sword that had been placed on top of the shelf. The reasoning behind Officer Hanning's actions may have been unclear at first, but it became evident with his subsequent actions. Officer Hanning positioned the sword approximately 5 feet away from where Mr. Clark lay unconscious, creating the illusion that Mr. Clark had walked out of his apartment wielding the sword with the intent to attack the officers. Following the use of unlawful force, Mr. Clark was swiftly transported to the hospital, where tests for drugs or alcohol came back negative. His initial vital signs indicated the possibility of heart-related complications, and he required stitches for a head wound. Within 24 hours of the incident, Mr. Clark developed a blood clot in his injured carotid artery and began vomiting blood. Additionally, 12 hours later, he suffered a stroke. Approximately 48 hours after being discharged, Mr. Clark found himself readmitted to the hospital due to complications arising from the initial surgery. Consequently, Mr. Clark pursued legal action and reached a settlement agreement with the Idaho Springs Police Department amounting to a remarkable sum of $7 million. This record-breaking payout exceeds the settlement awarded to Karen Gardner in September 2021. On the evening of September 21, 2019, law enforcement authorities swiftly reacted to a distressing domestic violence call that had emanated from an apartment in Austin, Texas. Deputy Pereira, a dedicated officer serving with the Williamson County Sheriff's Office, promptly arrived at the location. The door he knocked on belonged to the residence of Skylar Leo, a young 20-year-old woman who cohabited with her boyfriend Eric Ramirez. The call, urgently placed by a concerned neighbor, compelled the officers to investigate the situation without delay. Ms. Leo informed Deputy Pereira that Mr. Ramirez had left the apartment and didn't know his whereabouts. She also expressed her unwillingness to press charges of domestic assault.
Look up for me. What's on your neck? What happened?
Nothing happened.
So I have witnesses saying something happened. So are you trying to protect him?
No, I just really don't like dealing with y'all. I really don't want to deal with y'all. I really don't.
Okay. So...
I don't need to talk to y'all. I really don't.
Do you have your ID on you or anything?
No, I don't.
So what's your last name?
Domestic violence laws vary across states, including how abuse is defined, the charges against abusers, and mandatory reporting requirements. In Texas, officers have discretion in making arrests for domestic violence incidents. Despite Ms. Leo's reluctance to press charges, law enforcement and prosecutors can pursue criminal actions based on their investigation and evidence. Texas law emphasizes the protection of domestic violence victims, regardless of their cooperation.
So, were y'all... I'm trying to figure out why your friends called the cops.
What friend?
Or your witnesses, whoever was over here that called us. So what?
We got into an argument.
Okay.
That's it.
Okay. It was nothing physical?
Nothing physical.
Where are the marks on your neck from?
We got into my necklace right here.
No, this right here. What is that from?
Does it really matter?
Yes. I'm gonna make sure you're okay.
I'm fine, ma'am.
So
I'm fine. Like literally, I'm fine.
Okay.
I'm gonna be honest with you, I get irashed talking to y'all. I do not want to talk to you, and especially Williamson County. Y'all have a really bad reputation. I've bad encounters with y'all. I do not want to
I'm not gonna hurt you.
I know you aren't, ma'am.
Okay, so we need your cooperation.
I know, and I'm
Do you want to press charges?
I do not.
Okay.
No, I do not.
Thus, the police had a duty to safeguard Miss Leo's well-being during their response. Deputy Lorenzo Hernandez, previously featured on a reality show, encountered a situation where he tried to enter Miss Leo's apartment. Although Miss Leo protested, the Fourth Amendment allows officers to enter a citizen's home without a warrant under certain circumstances, such as protecting individuals from immediate harm, like in cases of domestic violence. Courts have often given officers broad discretion in responding to domestic violence calls. Based on these precedents, it's likely that a court would find Deputy Hernandez's entry into Miss Leo's apartment justifiable to ensure her safety despite her objection. However, we must also address the legality of use of force in this situation. Deputy Hernandez contends that Miss Leo's non-compliance justified the altercation and the use of force by the deputies. However, a court would likely disagree, as it must assess the reasonableness of the force used. In the 1989 Supreme Court case of Graham v. Connor, courts considered the severity of the crime, the threat posed to officers or others, and whether the suspect is actively resisting arrest. The 2018 case of Darden v. City of Fort Worth further emphasized that excessive force occurs when an arrestee is not actively resisting. Ms. Leo, a victim not resisting arrest, faced unwarranted aggression. A court would undoubtedly find Deputy Hernandez's actions excessive. Sheriff Robert Shodey initiated an internal investigation after an altercation, leading to Deputy Hernandez's one-day suspension. Surprisingly, Hernandez was later promoted to detective, but in January 2021, he resigned when former Sheriff Shawnee lost to current Sheriff Mike Gleason. Subsequently, Hernandez faced charges of official oppression and assault for his excessive use of force against Miss Leo.
We went to my house. I'm like, well, we gotta find the guy that allegedly did this. So she didn't give direction, travel, description, anything. She's like, he left. I don't know where he went.
Third level Nicholson.
Satisfaction.
So we need to see if this guy's inside your apartment.
Who else is in here?
She filed a lawsuit against him in the Williamson County Sheriff's Office on September 20th, 2021. Both the criminal charges against Hernandez and Miss Leo's civil suit remain pending. His actions were unacceptable, rapidly escalating a peaceful situation, showing unprofessionalism and using excessive force.
Went to my apartment. Yo, with what? I'm literally gonna press charges on y'all.
We have a possible felony.
Possible felony?
Yes.
For what? For who? He's not here, I'm telling you.
But you don't know where he went?
I don't know where he went.
Okay.
Like, what?
Yeah, so you can understand where your handcuffs right now?
So what happened? We were trying to talk, right? That's all we were trying to do?
Hey, so I'm gonna take
there
these
a light
handcuffs
in here?
off you.
How do you turn the light
Are
on?
we gonna be cool if we take these handcuffs off?
The light's not on. It's not on.
All right, man. So I wasn't here with information to relate to you. When we come to stuff like this, we're going to check for safety reasons, okay? We're going to make sure he's not here and you're not hiding it. We understand you don't want to cooperate. We can't force you to do that. We get that. We understand that. But you don't do what you just did. Not when we show up for something like this. We don't get your cooperation. That is what happens.
Yes.
Okay?
The deputy's authority to enter Miss Leal's apartment for the domestic disturbance is still debated.